She looked like a socialite, but she was one of the deadliest women in World War II. Her name was Nancy Wake. She smuggled messages, led surprise attacks, and once cycled 500 kilometers through Nazi territory to save a mission. The Gestapo called her the White Mouse, because she always escaped. They placed a 5 million franc bounty on her head, but she didn't stop. She fought the Nazis with courage, wit, and sometimes her bare hands. This is the true story of the most wanted woman in all of Nazi-occupied Europe. A story of resistance, survival, and fearless rebellion. You've probably never heard her name. It's time you did. Tap subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss the history that textbooks left out. Nancy Wake was born in New Zealand in 1912 and raised in Australia. As a teenager, she ran away from home, became a nurse, and then moved to Europe to become a journalist. She was young, bold, and curious. In 1930s Europe, that meant she was right in the middle of history. While reporting in Vienna and Berlin, she saw something terrifying. Street beatings, anti-Jewish graffiti, people disappearing overnight. She knew it wouldn't stop there. Nancy returned to Paris, where she met and married a wealthy French businessman. But just a few years later, war broke out and the Nazis invaded France. Nancy refused to live under fascism. She joined the French resistance. At first, she worked as a courier. She smuggled messages, false papers, and food to Allied soldiers trapped behind enemy lines. She used fake names, coded language, and secret drop-offs to move through Nazi checkpoints unnoticed. But she didn't just follow orders, she took the lead. She recruited fighters, planned missions, and made Nazi patrols look like amateurs. The Gestapo gave her a nickname, the White Mouse, because no matter how many traps they set, she always escaped, and each time she did, she came back even more dangerous. Nancy Wake's transformation from society reporter to top Allied operative was driven by a series of daring missions and razor-sharp planning. After France fell in June 1940, Wake joined the Patolieri Escape Network, initially serving as a courier for Captain Ian Garrow's group, later led by Albert Guerris. Using the alias André, she ferried messages, forged identity cards, and concealed food and radio parts across checkpoints. Over 3 years, she helped hundreds of downed Allied airmen evade capture and reach neutral Spain via clandestine routes through the Pyrenees. The Gestapo grew suspicious. By late 1942, they had intercepted her mail and tapped her phone. That November, after Wehrmacht forces occupied all of Vichy France, her entire network was betrayed. Rather than stay and risk compromise, Nancy made her escape. Arrested by Spanish border police in Toulouse in early 1943 with over a dozen fugitives in tow, imprisoned for 4 days, then released when Albert Guerris convinced authorities she was his mistress, crossed the Pyrenees on foot, an arduous trek of over 200 miles in freezing conditions to reach safety in Spain. By the time she reached London in May 1943, she had already endured 3 Gestapo interrogations without betraying a single contact. In Britain, Nancy enlisted in the Special Operations Executive SOE under the code name Hélène. From June 1943 to April 1944, she underwent demolition and sabotage training, handling up to 5 kilograms of explosives, silent killing techniques, including judo chokes, later used once in combat, small arms proficiency, qualifying as the best shot we've ever seen in SOE records, paranordic skills, including map reading, and battlefield first aid. Vera Atkins, SOE's senior female officer, described her as a real Australian bombshell with tremendous vitality and fieldcraft that put the men to shame. On 30th of April 1944, Nancy Wake parachuted into Auvergne province as part of the 3-person SOE team codenamed Freelance. The drop zone was near Montmouchet, home to a Maquis force overseen by Émile Coulodon, codenamed Gaspard. Nancy Wake, Hélène, liaison officer. John Hind Farmer, Hubert. Team leader, Denis Rake, radio operator. Initial challenge, Wake landed tangled in a tree. Resistance leader Henry Tardivat quipped, "I hope all the trees in France bear such beautiful fruit this year." Her first priorities were to identify parachute drop zones for arms, ammunition, and sabotage equipment, allocate supplies among 3 Maquis groups totaling 7,000 fighters. By May 1944, deliver coded target lists for demolition missions ahead of D-Day, the 6th of June 1944. On the 2nd of June 1944, German forces launched a probing attack on the Maquis base at Montmouchet. By the 20th of June, they encircled the resistance fighters with over 3,000 Wehrmacht troops, armored cars and light tanks. See Luftwaffe reconnaissance. Despite fierce resistance, the Marquis suffered heavy casualties. Nancy orchestrated a disciplined withdrawal. 3-day retreat covering 150 kilometers, 93 miles, westward to Saint-Quentin. Coordinated movement of all 7,000 fighters in small, stealthy columns evaded German roadblocks using forest paths and uncharted trails. During the retreat, the SOE team lost its radio and codebooks. Without communications, the Maquis were blind to Allied orders. Nancy made a bold decision. Borrowed a bicycle from a local sympathizer, cycled alone. 500 kilometers, 310 miles. Round trip in just 72 hours between Saint-Quentin and Châteauroux, re-established radio contact with SOE in London, delivering full situation reports and casualty figures. Her speed and resolve ensured that follow-up arms drops reached Maquis units on schedule, crucial for post-D-Day sabotage. From July to August 1944, Nancy led raids on German convoys, destroying at least 15 vehicles of supplies, blew up key railway lines around Montluçon, delaying troop reinforcements by 72 hours, coerced the execution of a confirmed German informant within her unit, personally supervising when others hesitated, single-handedly strangled an SS sentry with a judo chop, learned in SOE training to prevent an alarm during a night raid. Her exploits earned her the Gestapo moniker, the White Mouse. They estimated a 5 million franc bounty on her life, equivalent to over 20 million euros today, for dead or alive capture. Nancy's husband, Henri Fiocca, stayed behind in Marseille and was arrested in November 1942. He was tortured and executed by the Gestapo in early 1943, news Nancy only learned after liberation. She later said she blamed herself for his death. On the 15th of August 1944, Allied forces invaded southern France, Operation Dragoon. The Maquis, under Nancy's coordination, harassed retreating German columns, over 200 attacks on road convoys, seizure of strategic bridges at Montluçon and Vichy, capture of 150 German soldiers who surrendered to local resistance groups. By mid-September, with France liberated, Nancy and the freelance team returned to Britain, mission accomplished. Across her SOE tenure, April-September 1944, Nancy Wake coordinated over 40 arms drops, directed sabotage missions disabling 12 miles of railway track, organized logistics for 7,000 Maquis fighters across 3 departments, ensured rescue and exfiltration of hundreds of Allied soldiers behind enemy lines. These figures place her among the top SOE operatives in terms of reach and impact. This deep dive into Nancy Wake's wartime operations shows not only her daring, but also her strategic mastery qualities that made her a legend in the French resistance and a nightmare for the Gestapo. After the Allied victory in Europe, Nancy Wake's wartime heroics earned her a string of decorations. United Kingdom awarded the George Medal on the 16th of February 1945 for gallantry and devotion to duty. United States received the Medal of Freedom on the 19th of March 1947 for helping downed airmen escape France. Bestowed with the Légion d'honneur and the Croix de Guerre with 7 palms, France's highest military honours. Despite these accolades, her native Australia overlooked her service. She settled in London, working for the fledgling Central Intelligence Agency Liaison Office and later in public relations. For nearly 50 years, her name remained little known outside intelligence circles. It wasn't until 2004, at age 91, that the Australian government formally recognised her with the Order of Australia. By then, historians had documented over 7,000 Maquis fighters organised under her guidance, 40 confirmed arms drops, coordinated 500 kilometres bicycle mission through enemy territory. Hundreds of Allied servicemen rescued Nancy Wake died on the 7th of August 2011, aged 98. Her ashes were scattered over Montluçon, the heart of the region she helped liberate. Today, roadside plaques, a Paris street name and a London blue plaque stand in tribute testaments to a woman who refused to stay hidden. Nancy Wake refused to be invisible. She outsmarted the Gestapo, led thousands of fighters and changed the course of battles, often armed only with courage and determination. Her 500-kilometre bicycle ride, her secret drops, and even her bare-handed confrontations became legend. Yet for decades her story remained in the shadows. Today we shine a light on the White Mouse, A woman who proves one person can topple empires of fear. If Nancy's bravery inspired you, share this video with fellow history lovers. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Infinitia Verity, because the greatest heroes are those we almost forgot.